Okay. I'm David Cameo, and we are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. And today's no exception with the Walking Dead World Beyond's third episode of Season 2, its final season, tier, called Exit Wounds. Little in the way of housekeeping, although we have to remind you to please do a couple things. One, subscribe to our YouTube account. That's youtube.com/squawkingdead. So this way you know when videos drop, when we go live, all these little things that we do that we center around our premieres and stuff like that. So it's how we deliver our content to you. Secondly, consider subscribing to notifications, social media notifications. So click the bell on our Twitter account, so that you're reminded of when posts drop. So we don't really post that often. As well as in whatever you prefer, you can actually also enable notifications on Instagram as well, both stories and posts, as well as, and I highly encourage this because it really improves the algorithm on Facebook more than anything else, enable all notifications on Facebook. We rarely post there, but we do. So if you prefer the least amount of notifications, do this on Facebook. And you'll actually be doing us more of a favor when you do. But this is to say that we will begin voting on the Spooky Squawktober cosplay contest come this weekend. We are going to be working out the kinks for the voting system and some incentives to get you voting. So be on the lookout for that. Turn on those notifications. And also, if you're not so inclined, head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead and just follow us there. We'll be posting some updates there as well. And we will be, the cosplay contest and stuff like that. But also, just to be in the know for cool things like when we record our episodes, to be in the chat, as well as get the unedited episode recordings, which we have been posting to YouTube rather than just a file download. So if you've been interested in watching the unedited versions of this podcast but don't want to watch in a downloaded file, I have made a YouTube link available, an unlisted YouTube video available to that unedited episode podcast. So, and hey, if you're watching right now, hey, Whispers UK, hey Darren, and if you're watching right now and you like what you see, why don't you buy us a coffee during this premiere? And your message with your support will show in this video on YouTube forever. Without further ado, here is our coverage of the Walking Dead World Beyond's third episode, Exit Wounds. We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. I'm your host, David Cameo, and I'm with CosmoMom09, Rachel Burt, Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner, and Survivors tier member Jasmine. Thank you for coming again for the Walking Dead World Beyond coverage, because it's in your time zone. Also, glad to have you.
Start putting Fear the Walking Dead in my time zone.
Tomorrow, maybe. If it happens. Okay.
Tomorrow is Sunday.
Well, we're talking about the Walking Dead World Beyond's third episode of season 2. Wow, they really are coming all together. Titled Exit Wounds. Well, I feel like we might actually have more to talk about in this episode as things peel back even further to reveal the orange inside the fruit of the loom. Although I initially thought to myself, how am I going to start talking about this episode? Because part of me is like, well, there's some things to talk about, but I don't really know where to go. Also, I don't even know half the time which episode I'm about to cover.
Well, we could start with the title, Exit Wounds. What does that mean? Why is it called Exit Wounds? Well, I think it's referring to Huck and Dennis and the wounds that were created between them when she left. And I would like to find out more about what it is that he did, this big mistake that he made that essentially saved 5 lives, right?
You got to do bad to do good. You got to make mistakes to do good. It's becoming your favorite thing to talk about. It's had this not happened, this wouldn't have happened.
Yep.
And it's really to credit Dennis that they're even out there. That Lila slipped in the last episode talking about, I just let it go. That, Hope happened to be a bright individual. Here she is. Referring to exit wounds, though, there's the on-the-nose explanation, which is Percy having been shot. This is like the little reminder that's in the back of our minds that Huck was responsible for that. Huck killing a kid? It's one of my cardinal sins. Okay.
Trying to, anyway.
Right, trying to. Ugh, gross. And then reminding ourselves that, like, Huck just flat out mutilated Tony, Percy's uncle, who's apparently, sisters. So we did kind of figure out that Percy's last name is Delmato. This is like according to the showrunners and stuff like that. So Percy's uncle, his sister is Percy's mother. There we go.
Wait. No.
Oh, wait.
Otherwise
Sorry.
they wouldn't share a last name.
My bad. Yeah, right.
Well, that's not necessarily true. If Percy's mother never married, she may have given her child her maiden last name if she were never married.
But we'll see.
I actually have a question now that you guys said something about Huck. She has been in Omaha / Campus Colony for 2 years, but Leo has only been at the facility for a year. So why did they have Huck embedded there already if they didn't even know that they were going to want Hope there?
Good question. I wonder if Huck being stationed in Omaha / Campus Colony started out as punishment for whatever she did.
To make up for Dennis's mistake, to fix it.
Yeah. Maybe it
So now
started out
now-
as one thing and then turned into something else.
And it sounds like she was embedded in those colonies to gather intel on these sister cities. Does that jive with everybody?
Oh, I hadn't thought about it, but that makes
Yeah, I
sense
didn't
to me.
think about that, but
Basically, Huck is getting briefed by this Council of the Three, technically, but Kubelik is missing.
Yeah.
And funny enough, we're mourning Omaha, so this weird, the sister city is missing. Campus Colony and Omaha. So, which I think they consider one ring, right? One of the 3 rings, because then Portland's another, and then the CR is technically the 3rd ring. Is that also jive with everybody, I think?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, so then we see the Council of the Three. One of them's Captain Betts, and the other one was, I think it was Lieutenant Morrow, Morrow.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, right.
Like-
That was
like-
a tough one to read.
Like Clay Morrow from Sons of Anarchy. It was a bad joke. Bad joke.
And it seems as though she was embedded there. They kind of just said it on the nose, like, okay. And she got clemency based, your operation bore fruit. You being embedded in these colonies allowed us to probably find out about Leo, probably find out about Hope. This might actually bring me to that point I was trying to make before we got on. You've heard of the expression. It actually comes from Kung Fu, Carradine, where he says, when you save someone's life, you're responsible for it. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of that going on. And there's a little bit of that going on with not only Huck saving, Hope and whomever she could, sort of, while destroying other people. There's also a little bit of that going with Elton saving Percy as well. And then what happens as a result of his life being spared. Percy's life sort of gets better than it was before, realizing that the world was shit. Because I feel like after this episode, or by the end of this episode, Huck notwithstanding, things start to turn up for him. I don't know how this Elton guy knows what he's doing, but he knows what he's doing. Trusting these people.
We're just comparing this to recent events, right? Because when Percy was with Tony, I think things were pretty peachy.
But they had to do a lot of bad to be peachy.
Well, yeah,
right?
yeah.
The world is shit and we have to do bad.
They figured out how to make the world work for them, and they did. They made it work until they crossed our group, and then we're like, oh, shit. But yeah, like recently, things have not been going very well for Percy. But before he met us, I think him and Tony were pretty happy. I mean, considering the world.
Instead of murdering and robbing people, they made art instead.
And you know what? Okay, I hadn't thought of this really that well beforehand, but you're right. They're like the biggest hypocrites because at their nature, they're performers. But what is a performer without a crowd?
No one. They're nothing.
Right?
Yeah, you got to have an audience to perform to.
And so you can't. How long can you keep this jig up? Right? This whole idea of doing what you do, being a con man without the audience to appreciate your con, or at the very least, your puppet show, or Percy going out of his way to cut out art books to make this interestingly elaborate, why on earth in the apocalypse, elaborate display of a museum. Like, the Louvre to be more precise. How he goes against his nature to show appreciation for saving him. For Iris saving him, technically, or whatever. But what do you guys think of that? Like, there's a weird, like, you're, okay, you may talk and say the world is shit, Percy, but you're, like, still doing dumb beforehand shit.
Yeah, I think Percy was doing whatever he could to get him some.
But he still takes care of Elton, in a sense. Like, why are you even with Elton? I mean, is that your best chance of survival? Or
Does he? Does he take care of Elton, or does Elton take care of him?
Either or.
He's the one that's hurt. I don't think he'd make it without Elton right now.
Well, I mean, it's an odd, weird relationship because Percy's being very forthcoming with Elton. He could have just kept all that intel to himself, but he spoke it out loud. All the stuff that he spots in Asha and Dev's camp, he could have just kept it to himself. He goes, I'm just going to go get their shit. I'll be right back. No, but he goes to the bother. If he wasn't, like, aligned with Elton in any way, he wouldn't have gone through the bother of saying why all these things are significant. Like, why give the trick, like a magician giving away his tricks. That's not what you do. I don't know. It just makes me think out loud a little bit.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
No, I'm just going through it with you because I sometimes think, why is this guy with him if that's what he's about, right? Because you have to kind of think, he's been doing this for 10 years. So
yeah,
what shakes somebody out of that? The opportunity to have a crowd, an audience, to be with people, to grow your ranks. What is that? And so I do see things improving for Percy. He's now embedded in a community. Like, I know things change at the end of the episode, but I feel like all of this has showed him, I mean, it doesn't have to be that way, Percy. Look at what you just stumbled into with just a little bit of a... And I know Percy's essentially fucking right. He's essentially fucking right. But maybe... And so the maybe is what's probably going to fuck with him. But then Huck comes in and may ruin all of that. We don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I just going back to the main point, the opportunity to have a crowd for Percy is what changes him. It's like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is kind of cool. Why didn't we have this before?
We don't have to spend a whole lot of time on this, but it was just irritating. The whole scene between Iris and Percy. Now, Grant, yes, I realize I'm biased. I can't stand either one of them, so I will start by saying that. My opinion may mean nothing here, but she's trying to fix him all up when the fucking medic is coming to take care of him anyway. Get your hands off him, Iris. He doesn't need you. And furthermore, he doesn't need to take off his entire damn shirt just to get to a wound that's over here. Like, lift the fucking shirt up. Oh my God. Ah!
Okay, now we have to deconstruct this.
Stupid kids.
Okay, we have to deconstruct this just a little bit. Because what is it? Why does this bother you so much? I get it a little because you don't like Iris, period.
I don't like either one of them, yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, two people Rachel hates, I think, is what the word is, right?
That's a strong word. I try to reserve that strong of a word for when it's appropriate. I just don't like these two.
I'm stumbling in the dark here. It's like... So what is it that you like? No, that's
why I had to start with, I just don't like these two. So everything that happened, I just didn't like. I just found the entire thing completely unnecessary. I think that's my beef with it. And just in there to get Percy to take his clothes off. And I found it a waste of time.
I disagree.
Oh.
I think the point of the scene was to show that Percy's changed, because he clearly wasn't interested in what Iris had to say during that whole scene. That was like fully Iris like trying to be flirty, and he just wasn't having it. And I think past Percy would have been like all over that.
Oh, okay. You saw disinterest from his end. Okay. I did not, but that's interesting.
I didn't either, but I like that you saw that. Is it like a facial feature? Was he just like, well, what was it about it?
He just didn't look happy at all. He didn't look like he wanted to be there. And like he didn't speak back much. Like it wasn't really much of a conversation until towards the end.
He's fixated on taking out Huck. I mean, he mentions it like 3 or 4 times through the episode.
Exactly.
How much he hates Huck. He doesn't give a crap about any of the rest of them.
He's like tunnel vision on like killing Huck and not really interested in girls and doing other things at the moment.
He should be focused on something other than girls right now.
Well, he's focused on girls, just not in that manner.
Well, yeah, just not in a romantic way. That's true.
Guys, I think
hate bang.
Yes, exactly. I think we just found the new hate bang. I'm thinking the same thing.
Do you mean Hook and...
I just threw my pen at the screen. Where'd my pen go?
I want to focus on the unnecessary part, though, really, because we do get wrapped up in so many different things on this show, on these shows. And sometimes it does bother me when I see something that is contrary to, say, survival, or something that threatens the idea of what we should be doing to survive. But then I wonder, what if there are things that we are trying to do to make our lives brighter or more tolerable? And that could be seen as a form of survival. So like when Iris has this scene with Percy, I see very much awkwardness. Right. Well, that's what I saw. I saw like an awkward, like, maybe you should take your shirt off, and so I can get to the exit wound. You know, exactly what she says. And it's no different than, like, because the medic's not going to see Percy till the morning. So
and he's been out in the wild dealing with this for weeks now. What's one more day going to make a difference?
How long has it been though?
Well, they say it's been days,
like days
since they've eaten. Well, we know it's been days since they've eaten, but did they bring it? Did they have food? Do we know when the last time they ate was?
I feel like, the eaten part is one thing, but how long have they been on the road since Silas
sacrificed himself?
Yeah. I feel like it's only been a couple days.
Okay,
maybe
so what's one more? So what's
maybe
one
not
more?
Even a week.
Yeah.
What, babe? Wait, holy shit! Do you know what you just stumbled into? What's one more day? In one day, Omaha was destroyed. In one day, Dennis made a mistake or something like that. But then also in one day, the whole world changed too.
Well, sure. But if a herd of walkers come through, it's not going to matter if his exit wound is clean or not. They're all dead anyway.
Or like a truck coming in, plowing the rest of them through, like Dennis's truck particularly. But I guess, I mean, no, but these are interesting philosophical questions because, okay, what is one more day? We can easily say that because this is our everyday. What is one more day? Every day seems like the last. Mm-hmm. But in this world, every day isn't like the last. Your number could be up at any moment. So this is like the love the ones you're with kind of argument. Like, okay, love the ones you're with while you have them. Mm-hmm. And so we have to look at it from Iris's point of view, or at least listen, or at least try to. So, Iris is like, sure. I thought you were dead. I'm not going to take you for granted. We had this heart to heart, and whether or not we know definitively whether Iris has feelings for Percy or Percy has feelings. We definitely know that Percy, I think, right? Percy has feelings for Iris. That makes sense? Does it? I feel like we know more on that front than we do on Iris's feelings for Percy.
I feel the opposite, but yeah.
Did you see her face in that scene?
I'm not talking about this episode. I'm talking about previously.
Oh, okay, right.
Sorry, I didn't make that very clear. But in this episode, it seems the opposite. Like, as Jasmine pointed out, that it seems more like Percy is less interested and Iris is more interested. Again, reversals again. We're going from where we were to where we are.
Okay. All right. No, I see. Okay. I see what you're saying. And looking back at season 1, it does appear that way. However, I always thought his interest in Iris was more for show, more about gaining trust than it was genuine feelings. I never really got the impression that, I mean, maybe he might have liked her a little bit, but I think he amped it up a little bit to build trust faster. But I think Iris was all in. I think she saw him and was like, heart eyes, bunk, 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 bunk. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of makes sense because Percy is, especially as far as compared to them, he's a man of the world. I mean, he's been around and seen places, and I'm sure he's been with other women. Whereas Iris is naive and young and, her first love kind of thing or whatever. And so she's all starry-eyed, and he's like, yeah, I got other shit to worry about.
I got, what's that song? I got girls at every state, in every state. There's a country song about it.
I got hoes in every area code.
There's that one too. Yeah.
Maybe that just goes to show it makes sense on paper that would be the case. However, where are those girls right now?
Probably dead.
but why? Because it makes you think. Why?
Well, I mean, he said he was in Florida. I mean, maybe they're still in Florida. Maybe they've just roamed around. I mean, there are other people out there. There are other settlements. They can't be the only ones.
Are there?
Across the entire country? I'm sure there has to be. Well, Alexandria is one. Alexandria is a perfect example because Alexandria exists in the current timeline.
And the Hilltop and Meridian.
You know what you just did, right? You just stumbled into just a dark place because we're finding out that places like these are the exception. Meridian, for even however little long a time it was able to last, is the exception. The world 10 years later, the rule is stuff that Maze has done to other people. The rule is the ferals. The rule is ruthlessness. beyond compare. Or
Well,
and most things being dead or etched into the landscape or horrific or, people being absolutely insanely cruel to other people.
Of course, but at the same time, there are literally like 5 settlements in Virginia. So I'm sure in the entire state of Florida, there is a collection of settlements throughout the state. Or in Georgia, there's still settlements through. I mean, Virginia can't be the only place that has 5 settlements in it.
After what I've seen, I feel like it's becoming more and more clear, like especially after the nuclear explosion down in Texas, okay? It just seems more and more clear that anything that's left is a vast exception to because the Hilltop's done. Alexandria is almost done. It's done.
But
Oceanside may be done.
Not at this point, because we're still...
Alexandria is almost... like
2 years before, we're still 2 years behind Walking Dead here. So Alexandria and the Hilltop.
We're only a couple months we're only a couple months behind the Walking Dead right now.
No, The Walking Dead is at 12 years and 6 months. This is 10 years and 6 weeks.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. That's what I'm not too clear on.
We actually have proof of that, though. Those numbers can be proven.
But this is the point. Even though I will sometimes say, oh, it could be 12 years, I say it could be, because the show does this weird thing where, like, when we pick up, 12 years, and then we'll say, oh, maybe it's 2008, because we saw the yearbook in World Beyond, we saw Nora's building fell a year later, whatever. And the only thing that we know for certain, even that can be refuted in some ways, but we know for certain that it didn't all happen at the same time. The world didn't fall all at once.
Right.
That is clear. What isn't clear, when it fell for everybody. And even that is a maybe, because I don't think the show wants to put a fine point on it. So what I will say, this is the only thing I do know, though. I do know that The Walking Dead World Beyond is only a little bit, just a short amount of time behind the main show. Short, not 2 years, couple months. So even though we know, sort of, from Here Is Negan, right, that it's 12 years in, that's being refuted. Like everywhere.
See, I guess when the show puts something out that definitive, I'm not going to argue with it. They know better than us what they're doing, so I'm going to believe what they are telling us.
Even though they tell us 2 different things, that's the problem. The showrunners have made it clear. Even though these 2 facts are contradictory, the showrunners have made it clear The Walking Dead World Beyond is only a short time away from the main show, like a couple months.
Well, short
these are
time
2 different facts.
Can mean 2 different things to everybody, though.
But not, 2 years is not a short time. You're talking about within a year.
In the grand scheme of life, 2 years is a short amount of time.
But the apocalypse is accelerated.
To get back to the original point here, I do think that places like Alexandria, Hilltop, they are exceptions to the rule, like you said. Most of the country is going to be like the Ferals. However, I agree with Sharon D, and I would say I think each state would have a few exceptions.
Possibly, but needles in haystacks. I don't know if the show's going to put a finer point on all of this.
Probably not, because they like to drive us crazy.
Yeah, no, but I hope they do put a finer point in the horrors that are out there. Like how it's way worse than what we were able to see, which is like, oh my God, we were privileged enough to see people having some sort of humanity.
My whole point that Percy was getting some as he was traveling around the country, as that was happening over the progression of years, yes, there were settlements here and there and everywhere that possibly have died out by now.
Or just people.
In the past 10 years,
that's a better argument.
He has been getting some, and Iris has not. So she's all starry-eyed, and he's like, whatever.
Yeah. I can't trust anything Percy does or says because he's a professional con man. So there it is right there. I won't ever fully trust him. His actions will always speak louder than his words. I won't ever trust anything that comes out of his face.
I'll say this much. I don't know that I agree with you guys, but I'll keep that in the back of my mind as we move forward, because I don't know if I agree with you that he's been getting some, period. Because I keep thinking back to when the world fell and how old Percy must have been, which is probably about the same age as these kids. I get that maybe he probably came across individual peoples or individual families or found families that they might have come across, and in the process of trying to con, how much time do you have to actually embed yourself to be able to form enough of a relationship-ish? I know that sounds a funny way of saying it, to be able to get that far. I guess it's a way, but I don't know. I keep thinking about him as a boy and what he really wants. And this is what I'm kind of angling towards, and what he kind of admits to Iris saying at the end of Shadow Puppets, was it? Yeah.
that Iris reminds him of the man he wants to become. And it's fitting that at the end of this episode, he's with Iris. And is she the woman that she wanted to become? And how far away Percy may feel right now to the man he ought to become. And maybe he's getting closer through no fault of his own, like being saved by Asha and Dev at the same time. But I just like to play with these ideas because I don't know where Percy's at. Like kind of like you, Rachel. How do we trust? Can we even still trust anything Percy says? Yeah. Not sure. And then he has all these dilemmas, all these things like Iris reminding of the man he should be, even though she seems different. And then also the constant thought of revenge, which is not something he probably must have thought of when he was out there. It's all about getting the food, all about conning the people and getting the fuck out. You don't form personal attachments. But it's interesting how he's now the exact opposite. Now he's bent. He's all about the revenge. It's not about the con anymore.
I just want to say that Elton and Percy were smart enough to tie their horse up when they stopped at Asha and Dev's camp. Every other thing in The Walking Dead, when somebody has a horse, when they stop, they just drop the reins and let the horse, whatever. I'm like, no, a walker's going to come, that horse is going to run away, or it's going to get scared and run away. They actually tied their horse up before they walked down to the camp. And I was like, yes, good boys. Thank you for tying your horse up.
But won't that ensure that they get eaten? Like, right?
Oh, if they can't run away?
I thought you guys loved animals. What is wrong with you guys?
I'm
supposed to be the guy who goes, stay put, horse. I don't care if
you do not leave if you do not tie your horse up, as soon as a leaf blows under its hooves, it is like running through the forest and you're walking. So
yeah.
Not if you put a name tag on it.
What's that? Is that a reference to something that I'm not aware of?
Yeah.
Before we totally move on, this is just a funny point. We don't even have to talk about it, but Percy notices that Asha and Dev have a Dakota fire pit. I just thought that was hilarious.
Oh, he says Dakota fire pit?
A Dakota
what
fire
is a
pit.
Dakota fire pit?
Funny you should ask. I looked this up. So a Dakota fire pit.
I fell for a trap, guys.
I gotcha. First time I've snared you. So a Dakota fire pit is a simple fire design in which it produces little to no smoke. So you actually dig two holes, and one of them is to sort of draft the air and pull the smoke away. So it's supposed to be like less for hiding, really, so people don't see your smoke.
Less noticeable? I see.
Meanwhile, they were noticed because the smoke was blowing up through the trees. That's how they noticed that they were down there.
They were right there.
Did they?
Yeah, but as they were coming over the hill, you could see smoke pouring up through the trees.
Oh, jeez.
But they were. But it was white. It was white smoke. It wasn't billowy dark smoke, and they were like very close. Very close. It wouldn't be seen at a distance. That's the thing.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
At a great, like Indian smoke signals or something.
I'm just laughing my ass off at the name Dakota fire pit.
I know. Not meant to be noticed. Dakota roaming through camp. I didn't do anything.
And she's charcoal now.
And she's ash.
and now she too is the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Very, very noticeably burnt. Beyond all recognition of being human. Yeah.
The funniest line of the show was when they threw the axe at Elton. He's like, holy shit, it was turnips.
Do you want to know what's funnier about that? Where were we last year? I'm not familiar with the term haul ass.
Oh.
Now he is.
Yeah.
Now he is.
Now he knows what haul ass means.
I just thought that was kind of cute.
We got a little bit of a fear tie-in because you have turnips that actually made it.
Yeah.
Those little evil turnips. Yeah.
I just got sad.
Oh.
Because of the weevils. Tater bug, blue weevil, what? Anyway, sorry. This is like TWUception.
Yeah, well, the turnips kind of tie all three shows together, don't they? Like, by what you just said. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Kill me now.
Walking Dead random word association game. That'll be fun.
Guys, what food I see? There's a trivia question. What food item has made it to all three shows? Or what organic food? I don't know. Write it down. Okay.
Beans.
I think yes, definitely that. But usually in cans. I think we researched this. This is something we actually researched though. Turnips are the easiest thing to grow, even though they're the grossest thing in humanity. So
can you just eat them?
They're not that bad.
Can you just eat them raw like that?
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll destroy your stomach though.
No, yeah, I mean, you can eat them raw.
You'll get super gassy though, I think.
They're not. I mean, like I said, I grew them one year and I tried them raw. They weren't bad. Tasted kind of like a raw potato.
Yeah, that's not good either.
I
And if you're starving, you know.
Yeah.
But isn't that funny how like, okay, Elton is like, again, we're pointing things out about Elton that like, and which Percy does also. Yeah, you were behind walls, you dimwit. And so they're just turnips. Yeah, they are turnips. It's your life. You got to worry about it.
I love that Asha and Dev played that trick on Elton and Percy, scaring the shit
whole
out of
time.
them, putting the masks on with the signs up, and we're all like, I'm like, I'm not, I don't believe it. I'm not buying it.
Good. But you realize it wasn't really even for them as much as it was for us as the audience. Like, okay, what do we do? What's going on here? What is going on here? Mm-hmm. Right?
Well,
what are we doing
I
here?
thought they were taking them to Texas.
Right?
Okay.
And it was
Like for a second, I actually did think that.
Well, yeah, because that last time
Yeah.
we saw these radiation signs were in Texas, so it's like, how far have they been traveling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are quite a few nuclear power plants in upstate New York, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah, I did a tiny bit of research, and then I realized, oh, we have a lot of these. But New York was also responsible for, and I think this was out in Long Island, the 3 Mile Island disaster. Mm-hmm. Well, which wasn't as big as a disaster as we thought, but it was still a controversy at the time.
Asha and Dev's thing where she says, "You think they're empty?" to Elton,
Yeah.
and she says, "We call them vessels, and
Oh.
they still have their soul or whatever." Okay, and if you kill them, it sets them free. That was so Sadiq. That was the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, I wrote that down as well. I thought that was
So
kinda cool.
who is the Carl here?
Elton. Yeah, essentially, right? Oh, are you saying, wow, he almost was, but Tuffy Stitch, right? Tuffy Stitch. So,
Do you notice that the CRM uniforms are basically just really
Tuffy Stitch.
black corduroy?
Black Tuffy Stitch.
Really hard black corduroy.
Yeah.
I did kind of want to go back to the radiation stuff, though, because we did point out Fear the Walking Dead. We just recently seen it. It airs the same week. Fear the Walking Dead being this hellish escape sort of thing, and then 2 seasons prior, season 5 with the nuclear meltdown. Why did I want to bring that up? Because, well, first of all, because of the parallels. Second, because of the nuclear power plants in New York. Third, it is for us. It is for us to see. This is something I had said in the last episode, which you guys both didn't believe me. The perimeter is guarding the research facility.
They were very clear about that this episode, yes.
And they showed us how they do it. The signs, we did have nuclear power plant scares. 3 Mile Island, and then there's Indian Point, which we shut down as well recently. So I like how they're bringing New York state of affairs into the show too again. And I'll bring another one up later on, but I just like how they're telling us, they're showing the audience how this all works logistically. I always like it when the show gives us geographical markers or has a good sense of geography, where we are, from which point of view we're seeing somebody, and making like double use of the angles to kind of give us a sense of space, but also to give us a sense of where we are in the world. So when we see the signs going into the perimeter and then we see the perimeter from a different angle, because at first I was like, oh, are they at the perimeter? It feels like they're in the set of Deadwood at first. And then I realized... Yeah, or more accurately, Humbug's Gulch from Fear the Walking Dead. But it was interesting to see them sneakily bring us into the perimeter from a different angle, and then you see everybody come out kind of like in a Humbug's Gulch kind of arena, and then getting to see the sheriff at the front of the gate going, huh, I see you there. But that sort of thing of like we're seeing things from a different angle, so we have a better sense of what we're looking at, what we're dealing with.
Since we're talking about nuclear stuff, I have a theory that I have been considering about why they took out Omaha and Campus Colony and possibly Portland. I did a little bit of research, and there are missile silos outside of Omaha in Nebraska, and there's also like an experimental nuclear power plant outside of Portland. So I was thinking possibly Isabel picks up our people in Fear, and she comes back to the CRM and says, yo, these people just set off nuclear bombs in Texas. And maybe that spurs the CRM to lock down and protect any of the nuclear sites around. But maybe like for some reason in Omaha, maybe the people in Omaha knew about it and they started trying to prep nuclear weapons. Same thing in Portland. Maybe they have tried using weaponizing the nuclear reactor.
You
And since
know,
those, I mean, they could do it anywhere, but since those are the two big settlements right next to nuclear missiles and reactors, maybe that's why they took them out.
you're making a lot of sense because there's a thorn that's been in the back of my mind that I have not resolved, and it was the Omaha guard that crawls up to Kublek and that other guy, Mills, I think. I forget what his name is. At the end of or at the beginning of the first episode of the season, and he looked very radiated or whatnot, so it may not have just been a column. It may have been a meltdown, kind of what you're saying. A meltdown or like a leak, a radiation leak that helped these people succumb to whatever was coming or be distracted enough, a distraction for the distraction. And so that aided with their downfall, maybe. So maybe you're onto something.
I have a question because I don't know. The guy did look like he had gone through something. So my question is how strong does the radiation need to be, or how close do you need to be to it for it to have that result immediately? Isn't usually radiation symptoms happen like over time? So how powerful does it need to be for those signs to show up on your skin immediately?
But you'd have to be in close contact to the irradiated material. Like, and it would have
And
to
it would have to be
strong.
really strong too, right?
And it would have to produce
Okay.
heat. That's the point. That's heat.
Okay.
That's whatever that is. Heat, radiation,
Okay.
times radiation equals that guy.
I mean, he could have been down in a silo or something and come in contact. Who knows? But it was just a theory because I was trying to really think about what. Well, I mean, I was thinking about fear, of course, and I was thinking about Isabel picking everybody up, and it just kind of progressed from there. Yeah.
What do you got, Rach?
I
see the face.
I just got really excited when Sharon D said maybe he was near one of those things. Maybe he was near one of those things because they were venturing out and they found it and they were researching it, and that was part of the reason they, like you just said, that's part of the reason they wiped him out, and that's why he looks the way he does, is because he was there. Oh, whoa! Oh my God. Sorry, I got really excited.
I think we found our guard, or what did they say? I think we found our
missing.
He was your
missing something.
Missing Delta or something like
Yeah.
variant. What?
So they're missing something. Yeah. Or no. She said let Delta know we found they're missing something.
let
Missing
Delta
guy?
know Yeah.
Yeah.
They're missing whatever. Yeah.
Or they're
Which could mean-
they're escapee. That's what she called them.
Escapee,
They're
okay,
escapee
okay.
or something. That doesn't feel right either. Something like that.
Well, either way, that could have even been one of their own guys too.
Yeah.
Right. It's like
He
as a
looked
reflection
official.
of Huck. Well, one of the CRM embedded people too. It could be. Why not?
Ooh.
Why not one of their guys? You know.
Well, if he was a CRM undercover spy like Huck, then he would have no business messing around in the missile silos. Yeah.
Now we're reaching, but like I'm reaching. Okay, fine.
Anything's
But no,
possible, though.
You bring up a good point because maybe the reason was they could have been a threat, meaning they have this nuclear capability, and so we had to take them out.
And now that they have the experience of somebody doing it in Texas that CRM knows about,
Yep.
because Isabel had to go back and say, "Oh my God, they set off a fucking nuclear bomb in Texas."
And maybe we're talking about ideologies because if the CRM decided, because this is the way naturally how things go, that they have to embrace some sort of ideology similar to ours, well, which ideology? Teddy's? Right? Teddy's? Maybe other cults have sprung up that were nuclear cults and they just decided to go buck wild and kill the world. Maybe this goes to a larger point. Who was responsible for the zombie outbreak and who would be crazy enough to use this as a means to bring the country? Because, there have been theories across time immemorial, about outbreaks of any variety, tragedies of any variety, where the supposed conspiracy theory, I'm not saying this or that or what specific thing, is that the government just did it so that the people would unite, or the people would get together and we would have cohesion, right? We'd all, if people from all sides of the aisle would cohese, we would all live together in harmony. And so it could be that the CRM knows that is a possibility again. Like the people will keep doing this sort of bullshit all over again in order to do this. And so the fear is, right, Rachel, we got to get them before they get us.
That's right. Kill them all.
We are the light of the world. We are the light of the world. We are the ones to survive. We are the Walking Dead characters who shall not be touched, even though we see mirrors in other people, right? But it goes to show, like, it's us against everyone because we are the righteous. Pope, right? Mm-hmm. So we just have to draw these parallels because they're
Can
like
you imagine
fractals.
Pope with a nuclear weapon?
So point to CRM in a way. I'm glad you brought this up because that soldier being that way, looking that way, makes so much more sense.
Yep.
Boom.
I like it.
Shall we
like
move
it.
on?
I like it.
Now, I like we just dropped a turd and now we're just gonna walk away.
Yep.
Nobody's gonna clean up after it.
There it is. Enjoy.
There's nothing else to say. Now we get to come back to it as a thing, like Middletown, New York, being the residence of this place. Okay, so no, that one little fact that was mentioned in this episode, Asha does say, my mother founded this. Oh wait, no, it doesn't. It's not contradictory. My mother founded this place before the world fell, but that doesn't mean the residents aren't all from the people that were gathered in the military base where Huck was stationed, and who are about to be executed, and Huck saves and brings to this colony, maybe.
Yeah.
So
Why not?
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Brody may even be one of those people, and he's well aware of how crazy people can be when pushed into a corner. But Indira is the one. The Found family is the one who decides this place is worth protecting, and maybe the CRM shouldn't be all up in our shouldn't be all up in our assholes. One more to your point about the Sadiq connection. She says, okay, the vessel's soul is trapped. You're releasing them. The vessel empty vessel. But then why do you put the flowers in their eyes? And she goes, that's like my own personal touch. It's a little variation on the river Styx, the coins on the eyes. Charon, the ferryman of the river Styx. But then I thought, she said, yeah, it's just a little beauty in the darkness. This is something that we've been saying about this show. I just love seeing the beauty in the wild, in the darkness. But it goes beyond that. It hits on a point that Hope says in the beginning of this episode, which echoes throughout this episode. Why focus on the negative?
When there's so much positive.
Right. So, yeah, let's just bring a little beauty into all this death. I love how we got to play with that in this episode. It comes up elsewhere. We'll talk about that in a bit. Maybe I can make a small connection to what's going on here, though. They're sitting in a sculpture that looks like a caravan wagon that's open, because you see the kind of like the rags blowing in the wind. First of all, okay, we thought of pioneers. And some people want to make that connection, right? With the pioneers, Michonne and all those people, and maybe those are the same people, but where is Michonne? Forget that shit. I don't know. There's not enough juice there. There's not enough juice to squeeze, right? But I do want to bring up something Sharondy's going to like. That instantly reminded me of where Morgan was staying in season 4. This covered wagon that eventually got demolished. But it was like a covered
it was a
fabric
truck with a tarp over the top of it, like a military truck.
Yeah, I remember it looked like by the end of it looked like a Conestoga wagon by the end of it, because it was all torn apart and stuff. So I just thought that was cute. Oh, we're in the same where Morgan stayed. It's kind of, I don't know.
What it made me think of was with whale ribs. I don't know why, but like when you see whales, and they got the big. That's what I thought. It was like, they're inside of a whale,
like a whale skeleton.
No, that wasn't what it was, but that was just what it made me think of.
The belly of the beast. Oh, okay, that's an interesting thing. Okay, to think of.
I want to say that I looked up their names, and
me too.
They're both Hindi and Sanskrit. Asha means life or hope, and Dev means divine or God.
I thought that was kind of cool. The Asha one rung bells, like, oh, Asha kind of she's kind of got that hope feel to her. Like,
that's why Elton's getting a thing for her now. He's giving up on hope.
Exactly.
Yep, that's what I said. Elton found himself a new girlfriend.
Give it up on hope and just jumping on another hope. But I also noticed that like she kind of wears the same colors as him too. So there's a bit of a mirror going on with them.
I noticed that too.
But you also notice that like there's a bit of a weird role reversal, or maybe she is meant to keep his sense of optimism alive, because you feel after he hears the news that the home, because you have to remember where Elton came from. Elton was just wanted to see the world before eventually it would go away. Yeah, he doesn't know when or how. He extrapolates 10 years, 15 years. His mom said 15 years, but that doesn't seem likely, and he's saying 10 years. And he just wanted to do that, come home, and just go back to his life the way before. And I don't think he thought this is the way it was going to be. I just thought that was very crushing. And so when we see the scene, it's like, it makes sense. It makes sense that Elton doesn't know where things land, and then he has Percy's words echoing in his brain. This is not what we want to hear from the, not moral compass, but the heart of the show. This is something I've said before, and wow, it feels like forever. I haven't spoken about the heart of the show. The beating heart, the thing that makes you feel, the thing that makes you look ahead. Not really the morality, but like where your emotions should sit, or where your hope sits, is within Elton. Oh, but oh, that's kind of cute. What do you guys think? Because like we did just kind of prophesize that Elton is the Carl of the show, and what happens to right? So, what do you think this is all going to mean? Like, do you think Elton's going to lose his way? I mean, we're talking about reversals, and cynical people like Percy, or people that know the world the way it is, the horrific way it probably is by now, are kind of looking at things differently, having a wherewithal to have revenge rather than just surviving. And then so what happens to Elton? I shudder to think, because we all kind of like him for that reason, selfish as we are.
That's tough. I think Elton is a realist. I think he
Like a realist optimist?
Yeah, I mean, while still being an optimist, yeah. I mean, he, like you said, he doesn't even think the world is going to be around in another 10 years. So I think he'll also try to make the best of the time he has left. I mean, whether it's 10 years or 10 weeks or 10 hours, I don't know how long he's going to survive, but I think he can handle it mentally anyway. I think he's prepared mentally to handle whatever he needs to.
Anybody else on this point? Because I do want to throw something else in the mix. How much in that sense he resembles John Dory.
See, that's another parallel we don't want to make.
I didn't feel it at the time, and then I just felt myself saying it, and then I suddenly
why don't we throw Glenn into the mix too?
Sure, but the whole Western motif
with the moral compass.
Jasmine.
I don't see it. Oh, is it Glenn? Oh my God.
Not looking.
Okay. All right. Yep. There we go. That's good. Not gonna look. So that's Negan. So for the audio podcast, it's Negan with. Is that Glenn next to him? Because it's a little blurry. Okay. There we go. Look, his eye's not popped out. Rach, it's fine.
I got a good look earlier.
I have an alternate head with the eyes popped out.
Yeah,
if you
she doesn't have that,
one.
but she doesn't have that because she actually is a human being who doesn't want to see that every day. No, some days though, right? When you're feeling very angry. Oh God, it just fell. Okay, you're good, I think. Right? She's gonna put her camera back. Okay, I'll let you know when it's back.
No, that was mean.
That was just Glenn.
So yeah, I thought of it because he was kind of dressed like, in a way, he's kind of like John Dory-ish, and it's kind of like a Western motif out there. But it's also not just the look; it's the wafting into the apocalypse the same way as you are. Even though we know Elton's past is riddled with this horrific origin story of, you know, his dad being outside the door as long as he could to protect his son being inside the box, and then having to stumble as a child into campus. I had to bring that up again because Percy tells him, yeah, you've been behind the walls, you privileged snot, and then you remember as a child, a baby, that he's walking around hoping to find campus colony with a little baby Elton. And then I think of John Dory and wafting into the apocalypse, and I think of, you know, if you don't change, you may succumb to this, or if you're not built for this, if you're not willing to let go of the thing you once did in order to find a ideal self for you to go move forward. I can see Elton continuing to change and adapt, because we did see a lot of that in the finale for The Walking Dead World Beyond. We did see him have a conflict with his mother and suddenly resolve it, and then realize the beauty in the apocalypse, saving Percy instead of letting him die, and which is why he's here now, which could be a problem if we want everything to turn up right. But I just felt like it was a thing we had to do to bring that up and to see these parallels and similarities, and hopefully it'll turn out okay, because maybe the show does this thing where it says, oh, he's done, he's Walker chum, as I think he said before. But then the show might go, oh, no. Oh, empty chum, right, thank you. It could turn out differently.
I don't want anybody else to turn out like John Dory.
Yeah.
Me neither.
Yeah.
We want our good guys to survive.
So that scene where Percy and Elton are being chased through the woods, and Elton falls in this area of basically dormant walkers. I mean, they at some point just laid down and stayed there long enough for all this moss and everything to grow over top of them. I thought at first maybe Asha and Dev had like put some of this on them, but it was too organic, and clearly it had grown over these walkers. I just thought, wow,
right.
Like no one's been through here in this long that they can just lay down and take a nap for this long.
Well, like lurkers too, right? Bringing that fact up. But yeah, no, but maybe that's kind of what I was trying to say before. I just feel like the world's been decimated to a point where these lurkers, right? Because they are lurkers. Remember how the eye just kind of opened up the way it did? This is you guys schooling me in the first episode of The Walking Dead season 11, which, you know, occurred not too long ago, 8 weeks ago. That little parallel there. But then also, like, yeah, like, doesn't it go to show that the stadiums that they're building to draw in walkers are not, especially because this is World Beyond. This isn't The Walking Dead. This is World Beyond. So most of these walkers that we're encountering are etched into the scenery. They're not going to be able to draw all of them in. The goal of the almost fruitless goal of drawing in these walkers is almost not a great idea.
It's like pointless. They're not going to get them all.
Almost. I commend. Like, I think with most people, like when you see a good character that tries, but it's fruitless. But then yeah, it's just not going to get everything. This proves it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're never going to get everybody anyway, because even if you get all the walkers that are inside the borders or whatever, people will die and turn into walkers inside the borders.
Yeah.
So you're always going to have, unless it runs its course where eventually whatever happens, but for the time being, you're never going to be able to get rid of walkers 100%.
Yeah, until there's like a cure from the inside of people that makes it so they don't turn when they die. I think people should have the ability to walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. That's fine. But I just think there's a good philosopher asshole thing to point out here of, okay, this is how it is, and then this is what you're trying to do. I think both things are valid. Is there a way in which we can live in a world where these two things exist? I don't know. Maybe is civilization meant to be returned? Something that Angela Kang said, reviving a world that seems like it wasn't meant to be, right? I don't know.
Well, I don't think the world will ever be what it was, but could be something different, something better.
It could be something different, but better. I don't have hopes. I don't have hopes as far as better.
Elton does. Has hopes. Has hopes.
Hopes.
Hey, I'm not against it. I mean, if all three people... it's the polyamory question again. Anyway, I think it could work out.
So I love that... Sarcasm, sorry. I love that when Asha put on Elton's suit, the green bite mark on the arm magically washed away.
Was it green? Was there a green bite mark?
Well,
I didn't see it.
Yeah, when he got bit, it was all on his arm where it bit the Tuffy stitch, and then when she put it on, sleeve was clean.
Yeah, little observations. Yeah, that's fine. Constantly, that happens all the time in shows. I think I caught one.
Yeah. He rubbed some turnip on it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Turnip is great stain remover, so she just rubbed some turnip on it and it took it right off.
Oh,
there we go.
Which one I saw?
There we go.
You know which one I saw? Do you remember the parallel? I said the mirroring parallel betwing Maggie and Negan. How Negan gave her the food.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're wearing opposite colors, but they're really doing the same thing, and they're just they're putting the food down at the same time.
Yeah.
He gives it to her in one hand. She has it in her hand. In the next frame, they're both holding it with the other hand.
Okay.
So it's weird. So that's another
Yeah.
could
That happens
you imagine
all the time.
Yeah, could you imagine me bringing this up? I mean, it is relevant to the idea of mirroring a little bit, but I realized that as I was doing the blog, I was like gathering the pictures, and I'm like, oh, how did I miss this? Like, I saw the mirroring, but then like in the next scene, it was a different hand.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, is she a righty? Is she a lefty? I have no idea. Is he a righty or a lefty? I have no idea. So anyway, this stupid.
Just
right?
little things that I like that my eyes usually just go to. Like I see these little things that don't line up, and it means absolutely nothing. It's just something that I observe. That's all. And I laugh.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ha ha.
So there's something that was brought up. I think it was in the beginning of this season, and it was kind of interesting. And we didn't pick up on this, and it was the whole Dr. Ellis thing, right? I think it was the second episode, if I'm not mistaken. Ellis. Well, we've heard of Dr. Ellis before. T. Brooks Ellis, and this is from The Walking Dead. This was supposedly, we don't know for sure, Eugene Porter's mentor in the Human Genome Project. T. Brooks Ellis has a connection to Eugene Porter. He was from Texas. These little things that tie in the greater universe.
This Hope's teacher is T. Brooks Ellis?
T. Brooks Ellis. Yeah, Dr. Ellis.
He has a Human Genome poster on his wall behind him. I actually did some research on that.
In the classroom?
I didn't find anything.
Yeah, right behind his head,
I didn't
too.
find anything interesting, but yeah, I was right. When he said one of these is my screensaver, but I'm not going to say which one, and then it panned over, you can see the Human Genome poster right behind him.
Oh, I got to look closer next time. Oh, I want to see it.
It shows up a couple times because like when he has his direct dialogue with Hope, you see it in the background as well.
Okay, so now I want to go back. How do we know that this is T. Brooks Ellis and not a different Dr. Ellis? Where was that confirmed?
So basically, it's not 100%, and they're never going to go 100%. But we have a lot of evidence. Among the Human Genome Project, the bolo tie that he's wearing, the knot is an DNA strand.
The double helix?
The double helix, that's
Okay,
right.
okay.
Right? Okay. Right at the knot. He kind of sounds like Eugene a little bit. If you play it back in your mind, you say, and listen, we're going to see what we want to see. I will fully and readily admit that. But if you sound like if you're trying to imitate your mentor, and he makes these snide little Eugene-ish kind of jokes. So you're like, oh, this one's my screensaver, but I'm not going to tell you which. You know, like that kind of. He has kind of like a tiny, almost indecipherable Texas accent too. Kind of like Eugene's. I don't know what the fuck that is, but like let's just pretend it's a Texan accent.
John was wearing a bolo tie at the wedding.
Damn it. Did it have a double helix? I don't care otherwise. I'm just kidding.
No,
I'm just kidding.
It was a man and a woman dancing.
Humbug's Gulch had a wedding section.
June has it on her hat now. Well, JD has it on her hat now. The bolo tie. The bolo tie goes through the hat, and the bolo hook is her tightener thing.
I did want to bring up one more thing about T. Brooks Ellis. This was mentioned on The Walking Dead. He happened to have liked Eugene's mullet. That's it. That's all I have to say about that. Okay, so will he be happy to see Eugene's new haircut? I don't know. But now it's just I shudder to think what would happen when he unties that knot in that ponytail.
It's
like
just a mullety or a mullet.
I was just gonna say, now it's like a professional mullet. Like the longer it gets, it's just more pro.
Maybe he'll do like a top knot thing, and it'll just go on top of itself. It's be a top knot on top knot, top knot. Yeah.
Oh God, no! Eugene cannot pull
Eugene
off a
is
top
not
knot.
a mullet anymore. It's not a mullet anymore. It's like a swordfish or something.
In this episode, we do see a bunch of moments where Hope often thinks about her family. And I feel like this mirrors a little bit what was going on with Silas. Like, undetectably with Silas. Silas looking at his bandage in the last episode, reminding himself of why he's out there. And it wakes Hope up when she's in the classroom, seeing the two people out in the hallway holding each other, hugging each other as they're walking, or whatever. I don't know what that's called. I don't know, words. And it reminds her of Iris and her emerging from the BOG, finally come back to the crowd. And then later on, we see at the Jenga game when she wins the game, or when Mason topples the Jenga blocks. We notice that it reminds her of the tires that fell at the BOG just as they were leaving, Silas almost sacrificing himself for them to be saved. And then that gets her to snap back up and go, hey, I need to take care of this shit because I said, we said we were going to all be safe together. Or she says, actually, literally in the flashback, Iris saying to her, because that's what we do. We protect each other and we always will. And so that's like, okay, we got to do something about this. My dad, if he doesn't shut the fuck up, is going to get himself into I know how this works. He's going to get himself in a lot of trouble. Mm-hmm. So we got to do this now because he's mad. I don't want to feel like first of all, I don't want to feel like I'm holding things back from him. Let's just get this done and be over with.
And neither one of them know about the questions that Will and Romano were asking and how much trouble that got them into.
Neither one of whom?
Hope and Leo don't know what happened with Will and Romano.
There is another Hope and Silas parallel when Mason asks Hope if she wants to come to the party and gives her the directions. It's in the basement, etc. Mm-hmm. It is exactly what Hope said to Silas in 101 when she invites him to the party.
Hope and Iris, which I thought was cute. But yeah. I was actually trying to see if it was the same exact time and the same exact room-ish sort of thing. Definitely not. No. I actually checked. Maybe this was the thing that made me so late to this recording. It wasn't. It took 2 seconds.
I like that Mason gave us a little more information about the research facility in relation to the CR, to Portland. We know that these kids live at the research facility. He is away from his family that are currently in the CR. So what we're seeing is not the CR.
Right. I 100% agree. This is what we were saying first episode, second episode.
He said I can't tell you where it is.
Yeah.
Right. As a matter of course, right. We can't tell which, but that it is a republic. It is a string of small settlements scattered around the U.S. Maybe to Iris's point, when we see the first image of the question marks all across the United States, I'm not saying all the question marks represent this and that. I'm just saying it's kind of cool that she picks up on that it's not a single place. It is a string of places. I thought that's kind of cool. The Civic Republic doesn't make that clear, that they're spread across the world. Iris and them figure it out. Iris figures it out way before she even sees the map of all the resources with her drawing in the beginning of the first episode, which is kind of cool. It's just a thought that I had while you were talking about this. But one of the bigger points is, hey, we got all this equipment from Portland that just magically appeared. Did your mind go where my mind went? Of like, we weren't entirely clear what happened, if Portland is still in existence, even though at the same time that Omaha was being destroyed, Portland was trying to get in contact with them. And it could be that Portland bit the dust shortly thereafter. There's no reason not to think that.
I'm comfortable with that.
Even though there's a bit going against me on that one, because I just remembered that they sent Mills out to Portland, because Portland was asking questions about the lack of communications. So we don't know that they were trying to shut Portland up, but we know that they have their equipment. And then if we're to follow the logic, because it's been 1.5 months or plus, whatever, maybe.
Did Lila tell Leo that Dr. Abbott went back to Portland?
Yes, in the first season. Mm-hmm. So Leo doesn't have... So Leo's a teacher. So we have to kind of square the circle, because it seems like Lila is down in the bowels. Because like you said in the last episode, it seems like Lila isn't showing Hope everything. She's showing Hope, this is with the desk where I sit, but she doesn't show her the N. But lo and behold, Hope figures it out. What is this N6? She didn't use this N6 badge here. She saw the soldier checking in there. She didn't see. I don't think she saw her use. I think she saw her use something to get into her office, but it was like a swipe card, not a RF card, like the one she's wearing now. She seems to have more than one card. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I think Hope already knows that there's something deeper to this facility that is not being spoken about, which I think Hope is going to tell Leo this maybe later on, that, oh, are you sure that she's doing this and this and that? Are you sure she doesn't have a podcast pulverizing episodes of The Walking Dead after hours that she's not telling you about? Because that's where my mind went. Like after your day job, you go to your day job.
Yeah. The only other thing I was going to say, and I think it's pretty obvious, but the underground lab where Lila is working directly with Dr. Walker Abbott, clearly Leo has no idea that this space even exists. I wonder if there are any other doctors besides Lila who are allowed down there, or if this is just her area.
I would have to agree that, because she seems like CR pretty much, right? Mm-hmm. She didn't say she was from Portland, right? Oh no, Abbott's from Portland.
Correct.
So there we go. I think we see this, and I'm not quite sure, now that you're bringing this up, Rach, I'm not quite sure we didn't see Hope look at a door panel behind Lila in her office that may lead to something else, which could be the other facility.
Were we...
the deeper lab.
Were we in Lila's office or in Leo's office?
Good point.
It was Leo's
I don't
office.
know if they're working.
It was Leo's.
Leo's office.
She gave Hope directions down the hall, and last one on the left is
Hope's
Leo's office.
picture was on the desk.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Or unless Lila's obsessed.
Yeah.
Like everybody else is with Hope.
Well, could they maybe share an office? Could she have another desk in that room, and maybe they share the room?
I think they share a desk.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Can you imagine? Like he's on the lap.
I think that would be a terrible, terrible idea. I don't think you should ever share a desk with anyone.
Don't shit where you eat, even after the apocalypse.
Even me and my husband have separate computer desks.
Just doesn't work out.
Nope, we can't share.
No good. No bueno. I want to go back to this party, that party or distraction from the distraction that Mason is throwing. There is a bit of somberness, but then within the somberness is just sick and twisted shit. The banner for Omaha, basically Omaha's insignia, which is, I like, it's beautiful. But then the more I'm looking at it, I just look down a little bit, and it's on a Walker neutralization tank. I was thinking to myself,
on a what?
It's too...
What is that?
A neutralization tank.
What is that?
To neutralize walkers. It's a walker vat. Neutralize walkers.
That's
what I think.
Throw them in there? I'm not understanding.
I guess to neutralize the, but I don't think. Let's say it's not even that.
Okay.
They neutralized Omaha.
Oh, okay. That's the greater connection here. Okay.
Listen, I thought your brain would be more like mine, Rachel. Like, let's just throw the walkers in the tank and they're still moving, and so then we press a button and they just go.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you were thinking the same thing I was. Okay, fine.
I just wanted to make sure that was where I should be going.
It was just a little twisted. Like, I know they don't know, but it's also like maybe it's the writers going, let's just throw this in there, see if they pick up on it, and we can neutralize the Omaha. So it's so sick though.
I like Mason, and I know I'm not supposed to like Mason, because he's going to be like... He's got, like, a side plan, I know. But he's so nice.
Oh, okay, why? Let's drill down on the why. First of all, is he cute? Yes, I know, I get it. I'm hooked.
This
is about me.
The curly hair.
It's the demeanor to me, I think. You know, like the not aw shucks, but like he makes mistakes and then he makes up for it. I like that. Like he'll mea culpa. There's something charming about that. Are you saying that there's something charming about him, but I shouldn't trust him? Or maybe we could?
Yeah, like I know I shouldn't trust him, but like I want to.
That's a good point. Because I think it's going to go to a greater point that I definitely want to touch on. We are going to touch on the idea that there's a very, very clear indicator that Hope may end up seeing the idea of second chances. I know Iris talks about this, second chance. This is because when she's telling Percy, when Iris is telling Percy, it's a shame about your uncle, and knowing that my sister is out there, Hope, I'm just trying to look at the future. I'm trying to look at just second chances. I'm trying to move on, and it's odd that you have this person here who's bent on revenge for the loss of his uncle, and this person here who has the potential to lose everything. Or everybody's, but like slowly all these people are coming back in, so she's kind of lucky. Like Elton, Percy, and like, oh, when does Silas show up? We don't know, but probably soon.
Yeah.
But I like Iris's attitude. I like the idea is, okay, I like it, but I know it's weird because when you lose somebody, your first thought is like, oh, I'm going to get that motherfucker, right? And so, but Iris is thinking, okay, we have to move on. We have to keep going. What are you looking for, Iris? Is your whole thing, we should live to hit them back? Because Iris is going to eat her words eventually at some point. Iris is going to definitely have to eat her words. Oh, you thought Tony dying at the hands of Huck is bad. Are you going to eat your words later when it comes to the CR? I feel like that's going to be the main source of conflict between Hope and Iris.
Yeah.
Hope sees the indiscretions. She knows the indiscretions, but she may decide that, it is what it is and we have to move on.
Hope,
that happened.
Hope might try to justify these indiscretions too and say that it's an acceptable loss because of what this place is doing for the future of the world. What they're doing is important. If it can lead to completely wiping out the active walkers anyway, it is important. They're doing what they feel like they need to protect that future. So they are wrong, but they're not wrong.
Right. They're very wrong. The kernel of what they're about is not wrong, right?
Yes. I could definitely see Iris and Hope butting heads over this. Iris is out for revenge. They did this and that, and I want to kill them all. And Hope's going to be like, whoa, pump the brakes here, sis. They're actually building to something really important. We can't wipe them all out.
Right. And so we need to watch both Percy and Iris very closely because they are of the same bent and they are moving in the same direction, one on a smaller scale. Huck. Will Iris, in seeing how Percy deals with Huck, will she take that and extrapolate that onto the greater CRM? We have to see how that shakes out. Does she have an ally in Percy in that respect? Or maybe in her seeing how Percy deals with Huck, she may decide the pattern recognizing part in her brain that may decide revenge isn't worth it. Maybe she'll walk it back. Hopefully. Maybe Iris and Hope will be on the same page. But why hopefully, right? Because there's a part of you that's like, is the horror too great or is the revenge too great? Is the CRM too big to topple? Should they be toppled?
Yeah.
Is the big question, right?
No, you're right. Iris can keep pushing forward in her quest for revenge because if anything, it's going to get her killed, and I'm fine with that. So go on. Push on, Iris.
Or Leo killed? Oh God, having that on her conscience too? Maybe. I'm throwing it out there, but
so do you think they would just?
Because Leo's on the same bench.
Do you think they would? Okay. You're saying Leo would get himself killed? Okay, not.
But I guess like the candle burning at both ends, right? Like you have this person working out this angle and Leo working on a different angle.
Yeah.
And then what if the CR goes, "Hey, Iris, is that your name, Iris? If you don't stop, your father's on the chopping block." Or we pull a Negan. We kill one to save millions, right?
Yeah.
So,
which
is not a small cost. It's like, okay, 7 or how many people in the lineup? 10, 7, I forget. The Negan lineup is what I'm referring to.
Aaron, Sasha.
I think there was 10.
Abraham, Glenn, Maggie, Rick, Carl, Rosita,
Eugene,
Daryl
and Eugene.
We're
moving into a space where okay, maybe the CRS says, "Hey, I will gladly kill Leo," and maybe I did. I just killed Leo. So you stop it right now, Iris, with your revenge shit.
Why don't they kill Iris?
They will definitely find out that she's also a genius too.
Now,
and it may be
they think she's dead right now. They think she's dead.
Oh, yeah, because they keep looking.
Do they?
Well, no, because they're looking for Felix and Iris.
Right, they know that
No,
Will
they
is dead,
found-
or they think Will is dead.
Yeah, they
I
think
think
Will
one
is.
of those was supposed to look like Iris. One of
No.
the one
The
of
other
dead
one,
bodies
the
at
other one was
bottom.
the CRM
The other one
soldier
was
that
CRM.
that Iris killed. They made it look
Yeah.
like Will killed that guy instead of Iris.
Yeah, they were finding the build of Will so that they can get Will off the trail, so he's okay. But yeah, Iris. Iris, no.
To be fair, I thought the same thing Sharondy did. I'm like, did that other body look a lot like Iris? And it was
Yeah,
Eric who pointed out, no, it was the CRM soldier that Iris killed. And I went, oh yeah, that makes more sense. Ugh.
Yeah, and I brought. Why didn't I take a screenshot? No, because I was confused until I second watched and noted.
Yeah.
That's what they were trying to do. Their bodies, but if we don't pick them up, the bodies will wash them out or whatever. It doesn't matter. But we talk a lot about second chances. It was brought up a couple times. Dr. Ellis brings it up. Hey, this is a second chance for you to hope, to contribute, or to do. I forget. He said something about second chances. That made me think of the end scene with Percy, revenge. Will Percy see this as an opportunity to get a second chance at looking at life a different way, or a second chance at getting back at Huck? So there's a lot of second chances here. But then will that make it so that Iris eats her words? Because they may subvert our expectations. Maybe they will have Iris, up until a certain point, get revenge over the CR. And then they'll say, no, but then they're going to find a way to bring her in so that Hope and Iris can naturally have some sort of conflict against one another, even though she says in the background, says, like, yeah, that's what we do. We're supposed to protect one another. Mm-hmm. Maybe one of them will forget. Maybe both of them will forget. So when it comes to the party, there was one particular thing about the choice they made about the Jenga blocks. I decided on a lark to actually Google the significance of Jenga and where the root of the word comes from, where the root of the game comes from. So Jenga is derived from a Swahili word called kujenga, which is to build. Even though the object is to make someone responsible for collapsing the structure, the Jenga structure. Each block is unique, so each individual is unique to make up the structure. So you got the CR, right? The individual little settlements and whatever that make up the CR.
Aren't all the Jenga blocks the same?
They look the same. They're about the same, but they're little imperfections in the blocks themselves.
Well, I mean,
make
the
them
wood,
different from
the
one
wood
another.
grain itself would be different too. I mean, if you wanted to get
The wood-
technical.
But there's even to the point where there's micro variations in the dimensions, micro variations that make them different. They look almost exactly the same. But the original Jenga intent was to say, okay, but everyone's a little different.
Okay.
Everyone is a little different. Everybody working together to make the same thing.
And when you
Like,
take
I
one
just
away,
thought
the
that
whole
was-
thing comes tumbling down.
Well, not if you play it right.
Well, remember last episode you were
You
saying
play it terribly.
that it could just take the one really smart person to bring the whole CRM toppling down.
Yeah, so it only takes one irresponsible smart person, maybe like Mason, illustrating what Kubrick was talking about, where she throws her out in the wild. Yeah, you get it, but you need to get it a little bit more. That you need this. You need to be a part of a big collective. I just thought it was interesting that it's to build, and yet it's to topple. The goal is to shift responsibility to someone in order to win. There's something to play with there.
I just was thinking how beautiful of an explanation that is, and the only takeaway I had was next time I play Jenga, I'm writing commands on the blocks, like blindfolded, on one foot, something like. Yeah, we play Jenga all the time, so I'm writing on the blocks.
You never played that with those rules?
No,
Oh,
we just
it's
play
so great.
regular Jenga.
In bars, some of these bars that I've gone to and we played Jenga, every one of them has something. So you have to recite the ABCs on one foot or some stupid thing. Well, you played that too, Jasmine?
We have it in our flat, but the tiles are really personal.
Yeah. Yeah. It can get really, really bad. Some of them are just outright okay, this game is making me really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, not that level.
Yeah. Sorry. I hang out in the rough streets of Brooklyn.
I just thought that was really cool.
Hope's face as she's drinking the nasty wine. That's just a little observation I had. I just thought that was kind of cute. She's like, what? You guys call this alcohol? Ooh,
Sarah's
gross.
been brewing it.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Wait, Mason is Sarah's kid? Mason Rabinowitz? That would be something. Okay, so I want to connect all of this to the song that plays near the beginning when Dennis and Huck are getting it on. It's called It Takes Only One Night, and it keeps popping up. Not the song itself, but the idea. It Only Takes One Night by the Dum Dum Girls. This is literally describing...
The Dum Dum Girls? That's the name of the band?
Yeah.
That's what Will calls walkers.
Dum Dums. High five. How did I not see that? Okay. So they're zombie girls. Okay, cool. The whole song revolves around the idea of every time you go out, you have this secret life. I know your heart is in mine, but I don't know where you're at, and my mind is going crazy. But then I wonder when you come home where you've been.
Perfect for Huck and Agent Dennis.
Hope describes this to Huck near the end of this episode, where she says, where Huck is saying, we'll just wait until the morning when I'm scheduled to go on patrol, and I can sneak you out there. If I have to do this unannounced, and this is going to have consequences, then it raises suspicion. Like, what are you doing out here? But if she's doing it naturally, it'll be fine. But then Hope raises the thing, like, okay, I just came from this thing. I just got triggered from the Jenga blocks falling. Mm-hmm. It happened one night. Yeah. In one night, Omaha was decimated. Campus Colony was destroyed. And Portland is done. Again, I'm very scared for Portland right now, because what's done is done with Omaha and Campus Colony, but come on, Portland, come on. But I see that this has consequences, because I don't know about you. Something we said in the last couple episodes about how the CR, or at least the CRRF, operates. They let Leo go on with the ruse of him getting away with communications with Campus Colony. And I'm sure that the reason why there aren't as many guard dogs, which they kind of also brought back in the lead up to this episode, I expected more watchtowers and guard dogs. Mason could be one of those watchtowers as a person. Okay. One of the things I thought about when Huck was at the checkpoint was seeing this person, this
Corporal Pierce,
who
did take over Huck's duties. Yeah.
In light of me saying, okay, in this facility or in these facilities, maybe they let you get away with things to see the full extent of your ruse, and then they get you. Mm-hmm. So it's not enough to catch you in the act. You go, oh, okay. She hits the thing. She's like, okay, Hope is in there. Okay, so let's let them go and let them do the thing. Mm-hmm. And so I just feel like that's what's happening here. But what do you guys think?
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah. Did you guys think that at first as well, or what did you think about that whole scenario?
Oh yeah. I thought there was a little bit of maybe a little bit of jealousy that Huck is back, and now Corporal Pierce is basically on back to guard duty instead of working side by side with EK. So, but I also see what you're saying, and I thought the same thing. She knows Huck is up to something, but she's going to let her follow through with it. Now, I wonder if she's going to go back to EK right now and tell her, hey, Huck's doing something shady, or if she'll wait till she gets back and then try and get some information from Huck instead of ratting her out right away.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm going with that. Why in the show would somebody give their name if not to see them later? Mm-hmm. So in some capacity, right? Mm-hmm. The absence of Kubelik in this episode is very interesting, I think, too. Maybe she's left so that the mice can play, and she's observing them from a distance also.
Well, Leo says, Leo says where she is? What does Leo say? I don't remember.
She's off on official CR business.
Oh, that's it? It wasn't more specific. Okay, never mind. I thought he said
but
specifically.
in place of searching for Felix
and Iris, yeah. Okay.
And Will.
What if she has gone to supervise the destruction of Portland? Because how long would it take? If it took 3 days to march a column from Omaha to Campus Colony, how long would it take to march a column from Campus Colony to Portland? 6 weeks, maybe? That's pretty far.
If that, or maybe that's already happened and she's on her way back. Because, I mean, they have all the stuff. So, or maybe that stuff is from the irradiated, maybe they have a nuclear missile silo also.
Yeah.
And then they have the same situation like in Omaha, right?
Oh boy.
Okay. I know that we just talk about Corporal Pierce and that the whole ruse thing, and then they end up showing up in Perimeter Colony, and then Percy has his knife out with tears in his eyes. Poor Percy. And so let's talk about that before I move back onto Leo in his confrontation with Huck.
I wonder how she's going to convince Hope to leave Iris and Felix behind and return to the RF. That was my thought. Now that she's seen her sister and she's seen Felix, how is Huck going to get her back in that truck to take her back? I also wondered who these other people Huck brought with her are. Who are these other people with them? They weren't in the truck when they left the facility.
You're talking about the two people with the spears?
It looked like there were 4 people with Huck and Hope, and then other people standing out. They were like facing each other. Okay, so who I mistook for other soldiers were probably perimeter residents, just
perimeter soldiers, right.
Just sort of surrounding them. Like, what are you doing here?
Or they could be, our savior, Jennifer Mallick, is here. Oh, yeah. It's like, welcome home, hero who saved us. I just can't give it up. I just can't give it up.
Yeah, I wasn't getting that feeling, though, at all.
Hey, though. Let's assume that Jennifer Mallick saved all these people, or most of the people that are there, right?
Some of them.
At least a hefty handful from the episode that we saw. And assuming that this tale is true, and I hope to God it is, otherwise I'd be so mad. How would they feel about Percy trying to get revenge over Huck, right? Mm-hmm. This is a problem, right? And if they hear that Jennifer did something wrong to their uncle, first of all, would they believe Percy? And Huck denied it. There's a whole bunch of array of possibilities. And even if they hear the truth, they still would be like, yeah, you saved us, so sorry, Percy. That makes Percy right about this is how the world is, right?
And these
popularity contests.
These people, for argument's sake, we're going to say that Huck survivors are among these people. So they've seen Huck kill for good. So if Percy comes out and is like, she killed my uncle, they're going to think, well, he probably deserved it.
Yeah, or there was probably a good reason behind it. Or
well, I mean,
something.
Not only that, but what kind of shitstorm would it call down on them if Huck was hurt in
the perimeter? Oh yeah,
which makes Brody right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
even though they paint him in these episodes where we see him as like, oh god, this is one of those guys you absolutely hate. Like it's like, just come on, guys, what more people, more mouths to feed. Oh come on, brr. You know, like so. Right, but at the end of the day, is he wrong? No, not really. Like you guys are endangering us. Come on. But again, subverted expectations, right? You're not supposed to like Iris. You're not supposed
to... No one likes Iris.
Yeah, does anyone like Iris? Is she a likable character? I'm
nonplussed. I don't care.
Okay.
One of the positives of this episode is that Iris isn't in it much.
Mm-hmm.
But when she came on screen...
Although I did find the reunion between Elton and Iris quite sweet, though.
It was...
That's like the one.
It was so sweet, wasn't it? Until she saw Percy and basically shoved Elton to the side and was like, get the fuck out of my way! My man's home! Yeah, no, I didn't like that part.
Yeah.
This, I don't know where we go. I do know where we go from here. I do want to bring up one more point. This is the point that caught me off guard. When Leo confronts Huck, I saw a man who is bent. He's like, first of all, whatever's going on, my daughter is lying to me. It's not something that she does. Like, even if she does wrong, she tells me about it. This is something that she says, trust me in it. But he's worked up enough to go, I don't know how to protect my daughter. I don't know how to give a distraction from the distraction. I don't know what to do. Everybody's lying to me. Where's my other daughter? I was happy knowing that she was safe in Campus Colony. Well, what's the deal?
Yeah.
But then it suddenly occurred to me, what if Leo is like the avatar of all the other fathers with daughters from Omaha and Campus Colony who aren't alive anymore? And I saw him, the anger of these ghosts, knowing, first of all, Huck knowing that she is responsible. I say this because in light of her just coming out of that, what do you call it? Not a quorum, but a hearing or whatever, because she just got clemency. Because clemency means you did something wrong, but now you are absolved of it. And then you walk right into Leo and he goes, you're not absolved. You're responsible for great damage that has been done to my family. But then there's a greater point of all the bad you did in order to do good caused a genocide, a mass genocide. And I am the ghost of that mass genocide. And it really, when it hit me, I almost got overwhelmed by the thought. This touches on a very, very interesting point that we bring up sometimes in jest, but like things like Ezekiel's relationship to Carol. We don't really get to feel over long periods of time. Things that we don't, Leah's relationship with Daryl, because we're not there, we're not constantly there, as opposed to things like seeing Glenn and Maggie's relationship develop, that sort of thing. And so when you get to have these moments where you can sort of touch on the enormity of what this thing was, this massive extinction of people who had lives and a chance at something extinguished. In Leo, I thought that was a brilliant move because his anger was palpable. He was undeterred. He was like, whatever you decide to fucking call yourself. And then I thought in my moment when he said, whatever you decide to call yourself, clemency? Clemency? Really? And so, as much as we love Huck is having a bad day. Huck is going to end up getting it from all sides. And I think there's a weird thing going on here where, even as she's talking to Dennis, having this clarity of knowing, you made a mistake, but it ended up working out in where something good happened from it. Like, I destroyed a ton of lives, even though it's not directly her fault. But she, in that mistake that she's trying to make up for, more good things came out of it as a result. Like, I managed to save these people's lives. It's a lot to wrap your mind around, but I'm glad they could bring you to the point where you understand the enormity, not in just words, like in feelings, in Leo's feelings. And I thought that was nice. It was a good touch.
Yeah.
On second watch, in notes and stuff.
Aww.
I don't know if the viewers really got it though. I'm not sure, but I feel like that's something to hit on because we have to understand how big that is, and it's easy to gloss over, especially in a world of selfishness and trying to survive. Like Percy, okay, maybe that's the world is. Shit. So med student, let's talk about. Well, you have to explain what we're seeing. Though. So go ahead.
Okay. Glycolysis. Okay, sorry. No.
Well, for the audio podcast, yeah. So Jasmine showed what glycolysis is.
It's part of the steps, yeah.
Okay.
So, but basically, I wanted to bring this up because it's basically high school biology, and they're making out like it's a super big deal, even though commercially yeast is known to be used in decomposition. So it's like completely obvious thing. But then also they described the science wrong. Like them two were having like an argument about the science, but they were both wrong.
Explain how they're wrong.
They were like arguing about like the carbons and stuff. You're breaking down glucose, which is a 6-carbon molecule, so ultimately you're going to end up with 2 ethanol and 2 carbon dioxide. And like Hope was all like, oh, you get 1 carbon dioxide and 2 ethanol. And
Mason said
Mason was like, you get 2 carbon dioxide and 1 methanol. So they were both ethanol. They were both wrong.
It's actually
So
2
was
and 2
Butler. So was
Yeah, it's actually
Brooks
2 and
Ellis.
2.
because he sided with Hope.
Yeah.
maybe the whole point of this is that everybody's kind of bullshitting themselves. But yeah.
But like that. This is like a little like problem with like World Beyond is like they're making out that these 2 girls are like geniuses, and then they're using an example of basic high school biology to explain why they're geniuses.
I want to touch on the one thing that Hope said, though, about NADH. Does that have any sort of significance in this conversation?
In glycolysis, you reduce NAD plus to make NADH, and then when you actually get your pyruvate, you then convert that to acetylate, which then you oxidize using your NADH that's made in the glycolysis to make your ethanol.
This is why she explains that, it ends up in 2 ethanols, right? At the end of the process? Because that's how I was trying to follow. This kind of brings up an interesting point. So is this something that we should say they didn't get the science right, and this is something that they actually don't know what they're talking about? Or do we just say, oh, maybe everybody's bullshitting everybody and nobody has an effing clue? Because it's a very important point, because you'll have people like you come in and say, all of this science is wrong, but I don't know if it's just the show or if this is for real, everybody's bullshitting everybody. Maybe T. Brooks Ellis is bullshitting everybody much in the way Eugene did, too.
Yeah.
So it's important to bring up. I don't know if we're going to get the answer, though, right? If you think about it.
Even if they did have the science right, because they only like really messed up one thing, I just don't see how like this is like some huge revelation. If they bring this forward and they like be like, oh yeah, Hope cured everything with this, I'm gonna be like,
Well, I think it's surprising because they hadn't thought of using the process before in terms of trying to break down the decelerated decomposition. First, because they don't know what properties support this weird lack of cell decomposition. That's really the point. What Leo had been pursuing as an option was fungal. He was using various mycelial strands to...
Yeah, that's what yeast is.
Yeast is a mycelial strand? Is fungus?
There's a type of fungus.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I thought it was a bacteria. Oh, but it eats bacteria, right? No, or
Yeah.
Is that
Well,
it feeds on bacteria?
No, the bacteria feeds on the yeast.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Because the bacteria makes the enzymes that's responsible for fermentation.
I see.
Because depending on the bacteria present, you can either do what humans do and make lactate, or you can do what plants and yeast and like other fungi do and make your ethanol.
I see. Okay, so hold on. So basically, Hope is almost, in her own way, still contradicting her dad, using a different area of approach, like the exact opposite area of approach, using the process of fermentation to break down things, rather than what Leo's trying to do, which is
Speed up the process. Like trying to speed up the process that's already happening.
He's not making more food. If you think of like the human body being made of like glucose and sugars, the whole process of decomposition is breaking down them glucose and sugars into like carbon dioxide and other chemicals. So what he's trying to do is do that faster. So the way you want to do that is you want to get more of them enzymes, which are produced by the bacteria, so you want more bacteria. So the presence of yeast grows that bacteria faster.
so accelerates so thereby accelerating the decomposition,
Yes.
Yeah.
essentially. Which
More bacteria, more enzymes, faster decomposition.
which looks like it's working, at least with that walker in the last episode. Which did you get to see the picture in the blogs? Or the blog's not up yet, but the visual episode, because I put it up. I auto-colored it so you can actually see the skull clearer, because it looked like just a skull.
Ooh.
It was kind of weird. For the BO4 that was in the... apparently, it's called a neutralization facility.
Okay. The one that Agent Dennis had all tied up?
Agent Dennis. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Tied up and brought back to the CRRF.
Yeah. Okay.
That was on the forum. I actually got to see that now.
Yeah.
I got a mushroom joke for you. Since we're talking about fungus, what did the mushroom say to his friends when they wouldn't play with him? Come on, I'm a fun guy.
And with that, everybody, if you like what you heard, head over to ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead. 5 stars and eggplant is all we need to know that you love us. But let us know after every episode what we got right, what we got wrong, how much you love Iris, how little you do. After every episode, so that the world knows, but also so that we know. And if you really, really enjoy what we're doing and you want to get in on the action on what we're doing behind the scenes, let's say you want to attend a recording or get the unedited version of this podcast, why don't you head on over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead and just follow us. You don't have to tip us or buy us a coffee and get 30 days of supporter back content. You don't have to join a membership tier. It's just a good way of trying to see what's going on behind the scenes, because we rarely post that stuff on the internet, except when there's an interview and we say, hey, maybe you want to get on this. You want to attend the audience on this one, because that's what you can do. You attend the audience in our recording sessions, you attend the audience in our interviews, and it's a fun time in general. You get to ask questions of us, but you also get to ask questions of our guests as well. So you don't have to buy anything. You don't have to join our membership tier like Jasmine did, the Survivors tier, which is a very limited position, who got to host with us because of it. Think about it. And with that, everybody, I've been your host, David Cameo. I was joined by Cosmom09, Rachel Burt, Charity aka Blazy Gardner, and Survivors tier member, Jasmine. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Say bye, Jasmine. I'm just kidding. That was, by the way...